3 kingdoms. Start with 10 archers, competing for the world. Introduction. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the beginner gift package, archers plus 10, provisions plus 500, ding, congratulations to the host for completing the task of annihilating mountain bandits, infantry plus 10, provisions plus 1000. Lin Ze, a history student from a certain university, came to the parallel world of the game after touching a magical electronic game console. Chapter 1. New Arrival. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 3 Kingdoms parallel time and space game is loading in the late Eastern Han Dynasty. Emperor Ling of Han was critically ill. The power within the court is openly and covertly engaged in conflicts, with a hint of chaos. At this moment, in a thatched cottage on the outskirts of Yangzhou, now known as the Jiangnan region, a 19-year-old boy looked at himself in a somewhat puzzled way. His name is Lin Ze, a top student in the history department of a prestigious university in the 21st century. After receiving a masked person's gift of a game console called 3 Kingdoms Parallel Time and Space outside of class, he, who was already fond of history, immediately pressed the power button. Unexpectedly, a dizzy sensation immediately hit his brain. When he regained his senses, his soul had already penetrated into a parallel world, and there was also an unfamiliar memory in his mind. Based on his physical memory, the original owner had the same name and surname as him, and their appearance was almost identical, without any difference. But his family in this world is not wealthy, and he usually relies on farming for a living. He is a decent commoner. Did I run into the game? The opening setting is too shabby, isn't it? Lin Ze looked at the shabby cloth clothes on his body and couldn't help but sigh lightly. There was no time for him to complain too much, when the door of the hut was suddenly pushed open, and then 2 thin teenagers came in. Brother Ze, let's join the Yellow Turban Army. Recently, the 3 brothers of the Zhang family have launched an uprising, and people with lofty ideals have responded. I think we should also join in and fight against those corrupt officials. That's right, the Taiping doctrine founded by Senior Zhang Jiao has been widely circulated. Nowadays, the court officials exploit the people so much that even if we pick up a hoe, we have to compete with them. The 2 people who came in were Zhao Longfei and Hu Yu, both of whom were children played by Lin Ze from childhood to adulthood. Of course, this is the memory of this body. Looking at these 2 familiar and unfamiliar teenagers, Lin Ze sneered and scratched his head. Don't worry, you too. This matter can't be urgent. Although he caught up with the Yellow Turban uprising as soon as he entered the game, the uprising ended in failure, so he couldn't rush to join. However, it is really difficult to determine the direction of the parallel time and space of the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty in the game. Perhaps the leader of the Yellow Turban could secure a portion of the world, so it is necessary to carefully consider it. Brother Ze, how have you become so motherly? Your eldest son was born in heaven and earth. Do you want to make a living by farming here and suffer from the bullying of the officers and soldiers? Besides, your parents have passed away, so what do you care about now? Our parents are still alive, and we are still willing to participate in the uprising. That's right, who made us hungry? Let's fight against them. Now that the momentum outside is good, when will we wait until we add yellow scarves? Seeing Lin Ze hesitating, Zhao Longfei and Hu Yu began to persuade him impatiently. Hey, let me think twice. Helping his forehead, Lin Ze refused again. Upon seeing the situation, the 2 of them could only sigh lightly and turn around to leave. Shortly after they left, a mechanical voice suddenly came from somewhere. Ding, refuse friend group invitation, activate single player mode, difficult, and in the void, Lin Ze could clearly see this line of subtitles. As a newcomer to the game, he didn't know what he would end up with if the game failed, so when he saw the difficult mode, he felt a little uneasy and immediately shouted angrily. Damn it, I'm new here and can't figure out anything. How could I just agree to join the Yellow Turban Army? Aren't you deceiving me? Inside the thatched cottage, he was complaining alone. However, this statement did not receive any response, and the mechanical voice continued to sound its own way. Ding. The deer-chasing world system is currently activated, binding host. Lin Ze, territory. 0, advisor. 0, general. 0, force. 0, grain and grass. 0, get beginner gift pack. Bowman plus 10, grains plus 500, as the mechanical voice sounded, an additional data panel automatically appeared in Lin Ze's mind. And after receiving the newbie gift package, 10 spiritual lights suddenly flashed through the thatched cottage, followed by 10 archers wearing thin clothes, holding long bows, and carrying arrow bags appearing inside the house. This made the already small thatched cottage suddenly crowded. See Lord. After these 10 archers appeared, they all bowed and knelt down to drink. This made Lin Ze tremble with fear. Are these the 10 archers gifted in the beginner's gift pack? With a secret thought in his heart, he curiously touched the bodies of these suddenly appearing archers with his hand, and found that the touch was incredibly real, but with a slightly tingling electric current, it was indeed somewhat strange. Cough, everyone, please rise up. With a light cough in his throat, Lin Ze quickly helped up his 10 new subordinates. In a chaotic world, having a foothold is nothing but two things: one is human, the other is food, even in parallel time and space of the virtual world. Ding, start task 1, eliminate the mountain bandits. Difficulty. Simple, rewards. Grains plus 1000, infantry plus 10, task tip. There is a mountain in the east of the village, called Dawei Mountain. There are bandits on it who make a living by killing and looting. At this moment, the system coldly gave him the first task. After seeing the task content, Lin Ze combined his memory in his mind and indeed remembered clearly that there was a group of bandits on Dawei Mountain. Due to the corruption of the court and the incompetence of the government, they were unable to eliminate harm to the people for a long time, which led to the lack of control over this group of bandits. Now that Lin Ze has received this job, it is natural that he cannot shirk it, but of course, he also has no choice. However, he was quite interested in the reward. With 10 infantry, expanding his team a bit would give him a sense of security. After the first mission, Lin Ze also had a goal. Even when he walked out of the thatched cottage with 10 archers, he planned to go to the Dawei Mountain to the east of the village to suppress the bandits. They swaggered along the village road, immediately attracting the attention of many villagers. Hey, isn't that Lin Ze? Did he commit something? Why did he follow a group of officers and soldiers behind him? I don't look like a bad person who can make mistakes when I see this kid grow up. Who can ask for a clear understanding of what's going on? Listening to the whispers of the people around him, Lin Ze couldn't help but frown. It seemed that everything here was quite real. Although these NPC villagers were dressed in ordinary clothes, everyone had their own independent thinking ability and language, so it was best to act steadily and not underestimate anyone. Hey, Ozawa, what did your child do? In the crowd at this moment, a middle-aged woman in her 50s suddenly boldly shouted out. After hearing this, Lin Ze turned his head and couldn't help but feel a hint of warmth in his heart. In my memory, this middle-aged woman surnamed Ren took good care of him after his parents passed away, and can be considered an elder in the village who has a good relationship with him. Aunt Ren, I am leading troops to suppress bandits in Dawei Mountain. These are all volunteer armies that I spontaneously organized. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, with a gentle smile on his face, Lin Ze patiently explained. This surprised the onlookers even more. Sure, this child is hiding deep. But why hasn't there been any news? He usually stays in the village, doesn't he? When did he pull up this team? I just saw Zhao Longfei and Hu Yu go in to find him, maybe they formed it together. Anyway, Ozawa is going to hunt down thieves and eliminate harm. We should support him. Amidst various opinions, a relatively wealthy man in the village walked out with a dark horse. I have a family horse here. Although it is not strong, I should offer my help in catching thieves. Later, the stonemason in the village also offered a long sword. An old man who had retired from his military duties pulled out a pair of light armor. With the support and funding of a group of elderly villagers and NPCs, Lin Ze successfully obtained Horse X1, Light Armor X1, and Long Sword X1. Thanks to everyone's admiration, I will completely eliminate that group of bandits. Lin Ze bowed gratefully to the villagers, then put on light armor, wielded a long sword, and rode on a dark horse. After spending all his time wearing equipment, he finally looked like a leader and looked quite stylish in his clothes. Everyone, follow me. With years of horseback riding experience learned on Earth, Lin Ze skillfully swayed the leash and urged the black horse, leading 10 archers towards the Great Wall Mountain. The suppression of bandits went smoothly. A group of villagers watched as he led his troops away and waved goodbye. When the government is incompetent, someone willing to contribute to the people naturally wins the hearts of everyone. Chapter 2. Hoarding Soldiers on Dawei Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The gentle breeze is in the afternoon. Lin Ze walked several miles with 10 archers and finally arrived at Dawei Mountain. This mountain is not towering and has a gentle slope, so it can be easily seen with the naked eye. The group of bandits who dominate the mountains have set up an observation tower at the mountaintop, with 2 people responsible for reconnaissance. Apart from this, there are no other preventive measures. The bandits on the mountain are all obediently coming down and surrendering in time, otherwise the young master will destroy this Great Wall Mountain today. At the foot of the mountain, Lin Ze rode a dark horse and pointed his long sword towards the mountain, shouting angrily. Decades later, only the sound of drums could be heard, and the group of bandits who could sense the movement rushed down the mountain in groups of about 20.30 people, each holding swords and sharp weapons, vividly portraying a group of bandits. Who are you? You're so brave. You dare to cause trouble on my mountain. Have you never heard of my name, Hebatian? After the group of bandits descended the mountain, a rugged-looking man with a beard pointed at Lin Ze and asked fiercely. Nearly 30 mountain bandits followed suit and shouted wildly. The temperament emanating from them was both crude and rustic, and full of a rogue aura, which made Lin Ze personally experience what a mountain bandit is. Just as he was about to speak up and meet the other person, the system suddenly reacted. Ding! Detected that the host has a desire to use force, activate the combat power module, ding. Enable automatic detection function. After 2 mechanical voices sounded, Lin Ze only felt his eyes turn white. When his vision returned to normal, he looked at Hebatian. Suddenly, the system automatically detected the opponent's combat data and transmitted it to his mind. Hebatian, branch. Mountain Thief, level. Level 1, qualification. Ordinary, power. 8. This sudden change left Lin Ze stunned. Immediately, he looked at his own archers and found that he could also check the combat power data. Bowman Armor, branch. Archers, level. Level 1, qualification. Ordinary, power. 7, and these 10 archers in his hand have the same panel data, with combat power values of 7. Perhaps it is because the system will dispatch troops more uniformly. Looking at the bandits on the opposite side, their qualifications are all ordinary, but their combat power is far behind. Many of them are below 5 points, and a large part of the reason may be due to differences in equipment and personal physique. Kid, I'm asking you a question. At this moment, Hebatian's tone began to become impatient, with a faint intention of taking action. After Lin Ze regained his senses, he sneered and then waved his hand to launch a warning. Shoot the arrow. As soon as the words fell, 10 first-class archers quickly arched and strung their bows. Then, only a few shudders sounded, and several bandits in front immediately screamed and fell to the ground. Even Hebatian's left shoulder was hit by an arrow, and blood flowed out in one fell swoop. The so-called mountain bandits are not even considered as soldiers. The group of bandits in front of us don't even have light armor, they just carry knives and sticks in a decent way, which can be used to deal with civilians. However, when they collide with regular soldiers, their true form is immediately revealed. Show. With the second round of 10 archers arched, several mountain bandits were instantly stabbed by arrows and fell to the ground. Wait, we surrender, we are willing to surrender. At this moment, Hoarding was finally scared out of his wits by the bow and arrow, so he decided to kneel on the ground and raise his hand to surrender. He originally wanted to suppress Lin Ze with his aura, just like bullying the people, but to his surprise, the other party would really take action so quickly and suppress him completely. And when his subordinates saw this, they all knelt down on the ground, crying and shouting, fearing that their thin-dressed bodies would also be shot with such an arrow. Seeing the opponent's defeat so quickly, Lin Ze couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. The rabble is the rabble. Lao Ze studied history and read military tactics well, and he achieved a complete victory in this first practical battle. He is truly a genius. In fact, this battle relied on long-range suppression of equipment, as well as the comprehensive combat power of the troops being much stronger than the opponent, without much technical command, but this also made Lin Ze proud. After inflation, he said with a little pride. If you want to surrender, you can, but you have done many evil deeds in your daily life. I must punish you, so I will use your head to apologize to the villagers. After finishing speaking, he lightly patted the dark horse and stepped forward, with a flash of killing intent in his eyes. Then, he swung his long sword suddenly in his hand. A loud hiss sound. Before everyone could react, Hoarding's body was separated on the spot. This feeling is like killing someone in a game. Although Lin Ze's combat power is not high, it is only 7 points. But Hoarding was injured by an arrow and was kneeling on the ground, making it easy for this sudden sword to take his life. After he completed his first kill, the system also began to sound announcements. Ding, congratulations to the host for killing the thief head, level 1, and gaining a combat experience bonus. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully promoting to level 2 and increasing their combat power to 12 combat power data panel. Lin Ze, branch. Chuan level. Level 2, qualification. Excellent, power. 12, Ding, detected that the host has completed the task of annihilating mountain bandits, obtained infantry plus 10, and food and forage plus 1000, brushing. After the system reported the reward, 10 streams of light flashed by, and 10 infantry wearing light armor and wielding long knives immediately appeared in the field. After these 10 figures appeared, just like the previous archers, they knelt down devoutly and clasped their fists at Lin Ze, saying, "See you, Lord." From this action, their loyalty needs no doubt at all. Ladies and gentlemen, since we are here, we are a family. Seeing his troops expand again, Lin Ze was overjoyed and quickly waved his hand to get 10 infantry up. Then he turned his gaze to the group of mountain bandits across from him who were trembling with fear. After 2 rounds of bow and arrow baptism, the number of these guys is only a dozen or so. Judging from their varying levels of combat power, Lin Ze gave up his plan to cultivate them into a regular army. Anyway, his logistics in the army are currently in short supply, so it's better to let these people take care of them. Thinking of this, he coughed and said, "You guys, from now on, serve me honestly. Follow me, at least you can have enough to eat, and you don't have to take risks to rob homes anymore. If there are any disloyals in the future, I will definitely kill them. Thank you for your kindness. I will swear to follow you to the death." The dozen or so mountain bandits were also very discerning, and immediately nodded and bowed to acknowledge their master. At this moment, Lin Ze glanced at the system panel in his mind, chasing dear world system, host. Lin Ze, territory. 0, advisor. 0, general. 0, force. 38, Archer x10, infantry x10, logistics x18, grains. 1,500 servings. Now that he has a certain scale of subordinates and supplies, it's time to find a place to settle down. After a brief consideration, he set his mind on the Dawei mountain in front of him. Zhaozuiyuan.com. These bandits had previously lived here, and there were ready-made camps on the mountain. They were sure to have all the cooking stoves and other items available, so hoarding troops here is undoubtedly the most suitable choice. Immediately, he let these mountain bandits lead the way up the mountain. It is worth mentioning that before this, Lin Ze specifically instructed one person to bring He-Baishan's head to the village for public display, so that the people of the surrounding areas could hear the news and visit, and know about their achievements. The saying goes that those who win the hearts of the people will win the world. In the beginning, Liu Bei relied on his good reputation to attract many heroes and heroes to follow, in order to open up a career. And by doing so, he could easily obtain good advice from the people of 10 miles and 8 townships, which also helped him start his own business. After arriving at Dawei Mountain, Lin Ze began to visit around. Among the mountain bandits, there was a slippery person named Huzi who took the initiative to act as a guide for him. After briefly introducing several places, Huzi took him to the granary. "Hey, sir, this is our existing grain, and there is also a cooking area next to it." Lin Ze looked at the savings in the granary and found that these bandits had plenty of surplus food. There were corn, buckwheat, wild fruits, and some game in the granary, which was enough for more than 30 people to eat for a month. Touching his chin, he then used the system to reward him with a total of 1,500 pieces of grain and grass. He chose to redeem 500 of them, and the supplies in the granary immediately became more abundant. These provisions, one portion is equivalent to enough to satisfy one person's meal, and 500 portions can satisfy more than 30 people to eat for 10.5 days. Moreover, as the system's provisions can be exchanged at any time, Lin Ze does not intend to redeem all of them in case of any unforeseen circumstances. After all, it is also difficult to transport too much grain in the future, so it is more cost-effective to cache it in batches anytime and anywhere. Chapter 3. Negotiations on Public Security. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Lin Ze spent the night at Dawei Mountain and woke up early. In this world, he still feels hungry. The food here is roughly the same as reality, but there is always a slight tingling electric current that makes his consciousness not completely immersed in this world. After staying in a place for a long time, it is inevitable that one will truly get involved in the show. This kind of subtle electric flu may be a subtle reminder, warning him not to forget certain things, such as coming from the 21st century. But what kind of world is this? Is it a specific parallel spacetime? Or is it connected to external reality? These will only be known later. After simply eating a bowl of congee, he came to a relatively open space on Dawei Mountain, which was the schoolyard he selected yesterday. At this time, 20 personal soldiers had already gathered here punctually. The 10 archers who participated in the battle yesterday have all been inadvertently promoted to level 2, with the following panels. Bowman, level. Level 2, qualification. Ordinary, power. 11, and the 10 new infantry, with the same panel data as the archers before yesterday's battle, had a combat power value of only 7 points. Infantry, level. Level 1, qualification. Ordinary, power. 7, if we don't mention military branches, these people are purely physical differences. But if we take into account the restraint of different types of troops, high combat power may not necessarily surpass low combat power. Therefore, after a battle, all kinds of comprehensive strength are important, and the value of force cannot play a decisive role on the battlefield, unless it is a military officer with a force value far exceeding that of an ordinary person, in order to achieve the miracle of reducing 10 times with one force. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to survive in this chaotic world, we must strengthen our physical fitness and cultivate good martial arts skills in order to have a foothold. Looking at the 20 personal soldiers in front of him, Lin Ze began to use words to inspire people. Although he doesn't have basic martial arts skills, the system provides him with a guarantee of talent, and these soldiers have their own training system. After a thorough inspection, Lin Ze decisively selected a second-level archer from the team to organize and lead the team for training, while he secretly followed the team and gestured with punches and kicks. Don't say, this is really effective. Every time you wave your hands and feet, there is an experience bonus. Although I am not sure about the division of force in this parallel game world, yesterday when I was promoted to 2 levels, while my combat power increased, Lin Ze truly felt the enhancement of his own strength. That feeling was like hormones soaring rapidly. Even if the other person was a tiger, I had the confidence to give it a solid punch. This is probably the confidence generated by the rapid changes in body strength before and after the upgrade. Anyway, his qualifications are outstanding, and he must have practiced hard to make achievements in martial arts. Everyone practiced on the school field for an hour and a half, and Lin Ze just stopped training. Not long after he returned to the camp of the village leader, Hoarding, who had been promoted to logistics captain by him, suddenly walked in with a person. My lord, yesterday your story of suppressing bandits spread throughout the surrounding 10 miles and 8 townships. Thousands of villagers visited Hebation's head in turn. This morning, the government learned about your reputation and specially sent He County Magistrate to greet you. This tiger displayed his flattery to the fullest, as if forgetting that he was the group of thieves who were suppressed yesterday. While Lin Ze was speechless, he also looked up at the so-called He County Magistrate. Gee, this county town is amazing. Dressed in brocade, with a proud expression, its head raised high and scanning everything inside the tent, with an air of superiority. Speaking of greeting, he didn't say hello first, as if he was actually waiting for Lin Ze to compliment him. Regarding this, Lin Ze is not someone without a certain pattern. The other party's county magistrate is also equivalent to a deputy county magistrate, so he sneered a few times and said, "County magistrate." He personally went to Dawei mountain, making this barren land shine brightly. Come, please sit down. After hearing this, the so-called county magistrate nodded and lazily sat in front of Lin Ze. Hoarding, go get some good wine and dishes, and treat the county magistrate well today. Yes, I'll go prepare now. Upon hearing the command, Hoarding immediately ran away with a thud. At this moment, Lin Ze just came straight to the point and asked. May I ask the name of the county magistrate? Why did the government send you here this time? My surname is He, and my courtesy name is Taiyuan. I have been ordered by the magistrate of Qin County to come here this time. I see that you are a capable person, so I am here to invite you to serve the government. He Zheng's tone was extremely arrogant, as if he had come to collect his younger brother, without any verbal respect. Facing his attitude, although Lin Ze was not angry, he could still understand. During the Three Kingdoms period, a person's background was extremely crucial. Although this was not a noble family, it was normal for him to look down on Bai Ding, who came from a humble background and had not studied, like Lin Ze. As a recruitment officer, I don't know what position to hold. I have appointed you as the captain of Luling County, responsible for the security around Luling County, with a monthly salary of 100 grains. What do you think? Looking at He Zheng's cunning and sycophantic expression, Lin Ze only felt a pang of nausea. It seems that Zhaoan is fake, but trying to swallow his reputation is true. What kind of Luling captain? I don't think even a sesame official can be considered. His responsibility is to take charge of the surrounding security. Isn't that because he wants to lead people to suppress thieves and give himself a false name without real power? He has to rely on himself to make contributions, and the credit and reputation belong to the government. He can only send himself a salary of at most 100 grains per month. If a person is fed 3 portions of food a day, 100 portions of food is just enough for a person to eat for a month and 3 days, and can only support themselves. What is the use of this salary? Don't you need to raise your subordinates? If you do, you'll have to help with free volunteer work. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Ze figured out the interests involved. Anyway, the system did not require him to do anything, so he refused according to his own wishes, saying, "Lord, to put it bluntly, the government wants me to submit. They want me to go and suppress the bandits, so that I can use my reputation as the captain of Luling to salvage the inaction of the court over the years. You can even use my excuse of suppressing bandits to collect food from the people, indirectly squeezing them. After all, I will not agree to this recruitment. Also, your salary of 100 grains is simply deceiving others. You are a county bookkeeping sesame official, how can you also have more than 600 grains? Well, besides, I still have soldiers to raise. I just need to help you fight mountain bandits on weekdays. Do I have to raise soldiers myself?" He Zheng seemed to have never expected Lin Ze to react so quickly, feeling a bit stuttered for a moment. Normally, these uneducated rural rascals take pride in being able to secure a position and a half, and in the future, they will also take good care of their beards, horses, and gifts to themselves. They may even be able to become regular and promoted, and then land the land. Who would have thought that Lin Ze was truly someone with big eyes and did not eat the iron rice bowl of the imperial court's appointed officials? In his heart, he never had the idea of being alone, and his subordinates were also a part of him. If he couldn't develop his own power, he wouldn't be able to speak of being alone in the upcoming chaotic times. Moreover, this system occasionally triggers main quests for him. If he doesn't conserve his energy and strength, he may end up dying one day. So, how about a monthly salary of 600 grains? He Zheng was surprised by Lin Ze's extraordinary vision, and at the same time, he began to seriously negotiate with the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. At present, the Yellow Turban Uprising is causing great chaos in the world, and the government of Luling County urgently needs to create a person with a good reputation to calm the hearts of the people. County Magistrate the main focus of our conversation is on pleasure. We receive a monthly salary of 2,000 grain, along with 30 soldiers. The security around Luling County will be entrusted to me, and I will immediately send troops to conquer the small and large bandits around us. When I become famous, I can also achieve your goals. However, while winning the hearts of the people, we hope to minimize exploitation, because the real chaotic era is about to come. After Lin Ze finished speaking, He Zheng's mouth twitched, and he dared not underestimate him in his heart. Just because this seemingly young boy is extremely meticulous in his thinking, with his experience in observing people, he is bound to become a great asset. Perhaps he can also invest in him. Upon careful consideration of Lin Ze's requirements, his methods are not unable to meet them. After a moment of contemplation, He Zheng had an idea in his heart. Since Brother Lin speaks so happily, I shouldn't be so motherly anymore. From today on, you will be the captain of Luling, earning a monthly salary of 2,000 grains and responsible for the surrounding security. When you return later, I will make it clear to County Magistrate Chen that he will allocate 30 soldiers to you. The word definitely is deliberately emphasized in He Zheng's tone. Seeing how readily he agreed afterwards, Lin Ze couldn't help but laugh inwardly, and he naturally sensed a change in He Zheng's attitude towards him. He just didn't expect that one day the NPCs in the game would become so complex that they not only had to fight and kill, but also had to engage in verbal battles with them. Since County Magistrate he is so straightforward with Lin and has achieved great success in the future, I will not forget the County Magistrate's kindness in supporting him. I also hope that County Magistrate can speak more eloquently in front of the County Magistrate. Definitely, definitely. Chapter 4. 30 Soldiers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the two were chatting happily, Huzi happened to come in carrying wine and meat. Lin Ze enthusiastically filled his glass and then drank it in front of He Zheng, chatting and laughing. After finishing the banquet, He Zhengfang returned happily and rode away with the help of 2 attendants outside. Lord, what method did you use to make the county magistrate so enthusiastic about you? As Huzi was tidying up the dishes, he couldn't help but ask with a hint of curiosity. Lin Ze chuckled lightly and said, "If you want others to change their attitude towards you, it all depends on whether you have value or not. Perhaps this Hizheng will become a line for me in the court in the future." Although I understood the first two sentences of Huzi, the last one was so meaningful that it was still too profound for him, a rascal from a rogue background, to associate with. The next morning, the school field on Dawei Mountain began a new day of military training. Lin Ze gestured with punches and legs, and Huzi suddenly reported, "Lord, the county magistrate, he has come again, and this time he has brought many people." Upon hearing these words, Lin Ze knew that Hizheng had come to the appointment with the soldiers who had promised him. "Coincidentally, everyone is listening and following me to welcome the county magistrate." With joy in his heart, he stopped the 20 soldiers who were training, and then led his troops straight to the entrance of the mountain fortress. From afar, they saw Hizheng standing there with 2 attendants smiling and singing, with 30 soldiers standing behind him. "County Mayor you're here." Arriving at the gate of the village, Lin Ze arched his hand and smiled. "I agreed to Captain Lin's request, how could I not come? Our officers and soldiers in Luling County are not strong, and these are the elite soldiers I have carefully selected and captured. I hope they can make contributions under Captain Lin's command." Hizheng pointed at the 30 soldiers behind him and smiled, "Then I'll go back and wait for the good news about the security around Luling County." "Don't worry, County Magistrate I will send troops to fight against the thieves tomorrow." After a conversation, Hizheng smiled and arched his hand to bid farewell and leave. Lin Ze brought back the 30 new soldiers and all 20 of his own soldiers to the school field. These 30 new soldiers are all dressed in light armor and holding long spears. The so-called elite soldiers are not to be called, and their levels are all level 1. Their combat power fluctuates around 5 and 6 points, and their quality is slightly inferior compared to his own soldiers. Perhaps due to the chaos caused by the Yellow Turban Uprising, there is really no place to mobilize troops in Luling County, so this kind of goods can also be considered elite soldiers in the county. Forget it, it's still acceptable. Lin Ze secretly said to himself, and then let these 30 new recruits train together. They are currently practicing basic martial arts. With each punch and leg swung, they not only gain experience but also enhance their physical stamina, including strength, speed, and explosive power. As for using knives and guns, there is currently no talent proficient in these techniques to teach, so it can be put aside for now. Practicing a good body can greatly help improve combat effectiveness. Just like yesterday, another hour and a half had passed before Lin Ze disbanded the group and arranged logistics to accommodate the 30 new recruits. As for him, he returned to the camp of the village leader and prepared to plan the next anti-bandit operation. Looking at the map around Luling County on the table, it was originally used by Batian and his gang of bandits for observation. It was also filled with various markers, including the location of the government, the location of the village, the location with more pedestrians, and some markers representing the territory. Each group of bandits has their own sphere of influence. Lin Ze pondered for a moment. Since he was planning to clean up the evil forces, regardless of their strength, he would definitely clean them all up. Therefore, he could start from the nearest bandit hideout, which is Daliang Mountain, 3 kilometers away from Dawei Mountain, where there is a group of sizable bandits. After he cleans up and incorporates all these bandits from near to far, he can further strengthen his own strength. At this point, the system gave him a second task based on his decision direction. Ding, start task 2, eliminate violence and ensure peace, task difficulty. Normal, reward. Cavalry plus 50, grains plus 10,000, task tip. There are many bandits around Luling County, with a total of 10 bandit strongholds. Those with aspirations should eliminate them all. 10 bandit strongholds, they are exactly the same as those marked on this map. Lin Ze whispered inwardly. Quickly, he became a little excited again because the cavalry being rewarded this time was his favorite unit. This made him a bit eager to uproot all 10 bandit villages within the territory of Luling County. As he was about to embark on a journey to hunt down thieves tomorrow, he immediately instructed the logistics personnel to handle trivial matters, such as making flags with the word Lin written on them, which would be displayed during the march to represent his power. There are also tools for preparing dry food and transporting food to keep up with the army, all of which rely on more than a dozen bandits who originally lived on the Dawei mountain. They are now the logistics of the Lin family army. On the other hand, in the afternoon, he captured 50 soldiers who were responsible for carrying weapons and brought them to the school field for training, striving to improve their martial arts skills before tomorrow's crackdown. Drink, drink. On the school field, as Lin Ze watched his 50 soldiers train with great authority, a hint of pride couldn't help but rise in his heart. Men inevitably fantasize about this kind of scene, where they can command a group of soldiers to train and fight on the battlefield. Now, looking at these 50 soldiers, his inner imagination in this regard is undoubtedly satisfied. Before long, dusk had arrived and the training had ended, and everyone had improved significantly. The most obvious is the 10 infantry soldiers rewarded by the system yesterday. They directly exceeded level 2 and their combat power value reached 11 on the Shuyuan website www.xiaoshuyuan.com. Although I did not participate in killing enemies to gain experience and break through quickly, it also proves that military training and martial arts are indeed effective. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now the captain of Luling. Since you are my subordinates, tomorrow you should accompany me on a campaign to suppress the bandits and return a peaceful area around Luling County. Such actions to eliminate harm to the common people are actually the actions of a great man. We will not return until we break through the bandit stronghold, okay? Okay. Before disbandment, Lin Ze encouraged his subordinates to go on an expedition tomorrow and received a unanimous response from 50 soldiers. He was extremely satisfied with this and couldn't help feeling a little proud of his leadership. If one day you can control a force of 50 people, you will surely have the same authority in your heart as him. One night passed, and the next morning, a 50-member army began to eat breakfast issued by logistics, preparing to set off for battle. After filling his stomach, Lin Ze dressed neatly, wielding a long sword, rode on the black horse that the villagers had given him, and went to the school field to point troops. After everyone finished breakfast, they all came to the school field to gather. A unit of 50 people, 10 archers, 10 knife-wielding infantry, and 30 long-speared infantry were all dressed neatly and assembled. As for the logistics unit, a total of 10 people were dispatched to handle grain transportation, cooking, and handling various military affairs, as well as one person responsible for carrying flags. And for the habitat of Dawei Mountain, Lin Ze asked Huzi to take the remaining logistics with him to keep watch. It's not a very important strategic location, so there's no need to be too cautious. If you want to change accommodation, you can do it at any time. After everything was ready, the group immediately embarked on a journey to hunt down the thieves. Chapter 5. Pulling out the Thief's Fortress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On this expedition, there were 10 bandit villages, and the nearest Daliang mountain was first used by Lin Ze for surgery. A team of 61 people, covering a distance of 3 miles, arrived at their destination in just over 10 minutes. The on-duty mountain bandits on Daliang Mountain noticed the movement and reported it early. Relying solely on bullying the people can only provide them with the satisfaction of food and clothing, and they do not have the conditions to defend themselves from the mountains. Therefore, they can only go down to the mountains in groups to face each other honestly. After they rustled down the mountain, looking at the number of people, there were about 30, and their strength was not much worse than Hebatian and others. Most of the mountain bandits had less than 5 points of combat power, and they were all some bandits who could only bully the weak and could not compare with the regular army. On Lin Ze's side, 30 infantry soldiers in the front are holding long spears in formation, while 10 archers in the rear are bowing and ready to fire. Then there were the logistics soldiers carrying the flag and him riding on a black horse, while the 10 infantry wielding swords served as his escort regiment, standing behind him. The logistics for transporting grain are waiting for dispatch on an open space hundreds of meters away. In this arrangement, each of the subordinates fulfilled their duties with clear organization, and the number of people was almost twice that of the other. Relying solely on the prepared momentum, the group of mountain bandits trembled and felt intimidated. I am the captain of Luling County, serving as a court official to maintain the security around Luling County. As mountain bandits, please surrender quickly. I will spare your life, otherwise, none of you present will survive. At this moment, Lin Ze rode on a black horse and boldly issued a persuasion to surrender to more than 30 mountain bandits ahead. Although this is the world in the game, the playability is very high. Players can rely not only on fighting and killing, but also on words and strategies that are effective against these NPCs. They can even try to turn enemies into friends and win them over. After these words were spoken, a commotion erupted from the other side. More than 30 mountain bandits saw a significant difference in the number of people and equipment between the two sides, and had already developed a sense of retreat. Although they were engaged in the act of robbing families and houses, they were still a bit timid when they encountered officials and soldiers who came under the guise of the imperial court to suppress the bandits. After noticing the abnormality of his subordinates, the thief leader Agudo in front turned pale with iron. But he also knew that with the strength of both sides, even if they started fighting, they would still be in a situation of imminent collapse. Sigh. With a deep sigh, Agudo chose to compromise and knelt on the ground, raising his hands and saying, "We are willing to surrender." More than 30 bandits from behind were relieved when they saw their leader giving up resistance and decisively knelt down to beg for mercy. If they really had to fight against the well-equipped and strong Lin family army, they wouldn't have the courage. Upon seeing this, Lin Ze rode slowly forward on horseback. Looking at Agudo with only a level 1 combat power of 7, he didn't say anything and instead raised his hand and swung a sword. She. In an instant, blood splattered out, and Agudo's head was directly beheaded by him. This scene frightened the other bandits, but they dared not resist. In the past, you caused evil by following the wrong person. Now take this thief's head and punish him. If there are any disloyal people in the future, they will be killed without mercy. Lin Ze's tone was slightly cold, and the more than 30 mountain bandits trembled under his lewd influence, obediently speaking up. And the head of the thief Agudo's head was taken away by the logistics. Lin Ze plans to deliver it to He Jingshou in the future. The reason why he killed the other party is because this guy still has strong control over these mountain bandits. Allowing such a rogue leader with no limits in the military, he is not very confident, so it is appropriate to kill him as soon as possible. After collecting these more than 30 mountain bandits, Lin Ze's team grew stronger again, approaching 100 people. Notify Huzi to send someone to transport money and various supplies to Daliang Mountain, and the others will continue to follow me to fight against thieves. After designating one of the logistics personnel to report, Lin Ze commanded the large army to continue on the road of suppression. Next, the process went smoothly. These bandits usually formed groups of dozens, and their equipment and weapons were not excellent. When they saw Lin Ze's nearly 100-strong army lineup, they were all scared out of their wits. Soon, the second bandit stronghold was also taken down, the leader of the bandits was killed, and more than 40 mountain bandits were incorporated. In the afternoon, logistics prepare meals, the three armies prepare meals, and after finishing, continue marching. Throughout the afternoon, the third and fourth bandit strongholds were also successively pulled up, with a total of more than 70 bandits included. All of their bandit heads were killed by Lin Ze without exception, and as the army grew in size, there was almost no resistance along the way, and most of them surrendered. At night, on the fourth bandit stronghold, Lin Ze and his army of over 200 soldiers reorganized and rested. And the heads of those 4 thieves were also sent by him to Luling County. It is believed that after today, his reputation will also be a prominent sign near Luling. With a great reputation, there are talents to join him, and at this moment, his military strength has also expanded significantly, with a faint indication of a foothold. The next morning, the Lin family army, who had rested all night, set out again to suppress the bandits. This fifth bandit stronghold is located on Dahuang Mountain, about 6 miles away from their location. Although Lin Ze is currently carrying over 200 subordinates, there is a faint sense of unease in his heart. Speaking of which, the enemy is ultimately a mountain bandit who cannot stand the stage, not even the troops. With just over 200 people on display, the enemy only has dozens of people on a mountain, so what can they do? As soon as he thought of this, he gradually calmed down. When the army of over 200 people arrived at the fifth bandit stronghold on the Great Wilderness Mountain, to their surprise, the bandits stationed here had already prepared to wait in formation below the mountain. The leader had an extremely narrow scar on his face, holding a wolf-tooth stick in his hand, and his eyes inadvertently emitted a slight cold light, making it difficult to provoke. The fact is indeed true. Lin Ze found through the detection function of the system that the opponent's level has reached level 3, with a combat power of up to 16, which is not on the same level as those weak chicken thief heads before. However, he alone cannot influence this battle. I am the captain of Luling, and today I am here to suppress the bandits. You bandits, surrender quickly, otherwise you will end up with one death. With full confidence, Lin Ze, like before pulling out the stronghold, first exerted pressure with words. However, this time the other party did not show any signs of fear. The scarred thief's head even snorted coldly with a hint of disdain. You must be that Lin Ze. He has been quite imposing lately, but Qin Sha is not afraid of you. Don't believe me, take a look around. After listening to him finish speaking, Lin Ze let out a thud in his heart, secretly saying that something was wrong. As expected, a few seconds later, only a large number of shouting and killing voices were heard, and a large number of mountain bandits rushed out on both sides of the Great Wilderness Mountain, charging towards them together. Ha ha ha, look for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Your story of banditry has been widely spread. Yesterday, you even killed 4 mountain kings. Do you think we should wash our necks and wait for you to come and collect your head? Take a good look. This is the total force of the 6 remaining mountain villages around Luling County. We will definitely chop off your head for everyone to watch. Qin Sha spoke with great pleasure, then waved his hand and said, Brothers, those who take the head of Lin Ze will be rewarded with 10 gold coins. Follow me to kill. Kill. For a moment, the shouting of killing echoed through the foot of the mountain, and Qin Sha's frontal troops and reinforcements rushing out on both sides converged, charging towards Lin Ze's troops with a rainbow-like momentum. At first glance, there were nearly 300 people. This was the result of their collective efforts in the 6 villages, and it was also a joint counterattack by the bandits from the Luling region. Everyone stay calm, the other party is just a mob, don't mess around. At this moment, Lin Ze realized that there was a lack of military morale in his team, and his heart began to become anxious. His 200-strong army, of which only 50 were regular soldiers, and the remaining over 100 were all gathered by newly recruited mountain bandits. This group of newly joined bandits did not have much sense of belonging, and facing such a scene at this moment, it is impossible to say that they are not afraid. I don't want to die, run away. Run quickly. When the first deserter to break through the defense appeared in this newly recruited group of mountain bandits, a chain reaction quickly occurred. The square formed by over 100 mountain bandits in front of Lin Ze's army immediately collapsed. Grass, mud is ultimately mud. He spat in anger and immediately ordered the 50 regular soldiers he had brought with him. The spearmen maintain their formation, while the archers begin to shoot arrows. Don't worry about this mob. If they disrupt the formation, you can kill them directly. Chapter 6. Trapped in a Trap. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fortunately, the regular army has a clear distinction between right and wrong, high quality, and a strong sense of belonging to Lin Ze, without any scenes of scattered and fleeing. Chi. 30 spearmen in front extended their spears forward, forming a dense array of guns in an instant. Several of the newly recruited mountain bandits were busy running for their lives and panicked, and as soon as they turned around, their bodies were punctured. For these deserters, even if Lin Ze died, he was too lazy to sympathize. And 10 archers in the team also began their offensive. Shoo. As one arrow shot out, several people from over 300 mountain bandits charging ahead were pierced and fell to their deaths on the spot. Archers who have risen to level 2 in archery, in terms of accuracy and power, can deal with these poorly equipped mountain bandits who are only level 1. It's like shooting one shot at a time and dying if hit. However, the number of these archers alone could not withstand the attack of over 300 enemy soldiers. After the 150 mountain bandits who were recruited in the front scattered like birds and beasts, the enemy also began to attack Lin Ze's troops. Bang. These mountain bandits arrived at the front of the formation, wielding machetes and constantly waving, attempting to break through the gun formation of 30 spearmen. But only cavalry can break through this formation in one go. These mountain bandits are poorly equipped and have short machetes. Not only did they not break through this gun formation in one go, but they were directly stabbed to death by more than 10 people. Brothers, don't be afraid. They are few people, attack from the side. Qin Sha frowned and immediately commanded when he saw this situation. Actually, even if he doesn't say it, these mountain bandits know how to do it. When there are too many people charging into the formation on the front side, the people behind will automatically disperse, and bandits have already entered from the side. Quickly, divide into 2 teams and move forward to protect the left and right sides of the gun formation. Don't let these bandits break through the formation. After Lin Ze noticed something was amiss, he immediately dispatched 10 infantry wielding knives to serve as his guards. After obeying their orders, these sword-wielding infantry cooperated very well and headed towards both sides of the gun formation. Chi. On the left, a group of mountain bandits led a team to bypass the gun formation and kill them. The level 2 sword-wielding infantry charging ahead quickly swung their swords and killed 2 leading level 1 mountain bandits in one fell swoop, indirectly intimidating the enemy's rear troops. In terms of combat power and equipment, these second-level sword-wielding infantry are like cutting a cucumber when it comes to attacking first-level impoverished mountain bandits. However, the opponent relied on a large number of people, and as they couldn't break through the gun formation from the front, they all pushed towards both sides. Although 10 infantry wielding swords were all red-eyed, some even reached level 3 due to their experience, they still couldn't hold on to the enemy's attack on the flanks. In this way, the entire gun formation was also destroyed from both sides, and the enemy directly entered the interior of the gun formation. 30 gunmen had no choice but to raise their guns and fight fiercely against the mountain bandits who were charging forward. At this moment, there were no tactics to speak of, and the entire battlefield was directly plunged into a major melee. Follow me. Lin Ze, who was facing an unfavorable situation, began to shoot and retreat with 10 archers. Qin Sha, who noticed this scene, immediately shouted loudly. Those who take the head of Lin Ze will be rewarded with 10 gold coins. As soon as these words were spoken, all the bandits' eyes became hot, and many of them chased straight towards Lin Ze. Damn it! With a fierce scolding, Lin Ze held the long sword tightly in his hand and then swung it fiercely. The 2 bandits who rushed to the front were killed by him on the spot, and he gained some experience. And 10 archers also vigorously arched and shot arrows, constantly killing the incoming mountain bandits. Once there is someone approaching, let Lin Ze handle it. Due to the 40 regular soldiers on the front battlefield also making every effort to obstruct and kill these mountain bandits, they couldn't spare much energy to capture Lin Ze for a while. However, the stalemate did not last long, and several hooves suddenly came from afar. Where is Lin Ze? The village leader Lu Yuan is here and has come to take your head. Me too, He Yuan. The village leader Gong Jing is here to take the head of Lin Ze. As several rough voices rang out, the riders were none other than the leaders of the bandit strongholds, all of whom appeared at this moment. Ha ha ha, Lin Ze, even if you cut your wings today, it's hard to escape. Seeing the leaders of various villages appear one after another, Qin Sha, who was working hard to harm the long spearman, burst out laughing with great pride. Alas, I was careless. In the end, I had too little experience and ended up in the current situation. Lin Ze looked at the approaching village leaders and his own subordinates who were struggling, feeling extremely sad in his heart. Stop it all, since you want me to be the head, do you dare to challenge me alone? Upon hearing this request, Qin Sha's ear twitched and he immediately stopped the entire audience, saying, "Stop it all for me." With his roar, the mountain bandits on the field gradually stopped their siege. At this moment, Lin Ze's subordinates suffered extremely heavy losses. The 30 long-speared infantry, standing in the field, were only 8 people, and each of them was in an unattractive state. And the sword-wielding infantry with higher-level combat power are slightly better, with only 6 remaining, and their levels have all been raised to level 3. With the quality of these level 1 mountain bandits, it is not easy to take them down. Although Lin Ze lost over 70% of his troops, the enemy was not doing well either. With the counterattack of a group of infantry and the shooting of 10 archers, more than 120 people were killed in action. The casualty rate of both sides is close to 5 to 1, and for almost every death of a regular army, 5 mountain bandits will be killed as a price. Although Lin Ze's situation has declined, these mountain bandits still have to pay a price of no less than 50 people to continue annihilating his remaining elite soldiers. The reason why Qin Sha called for a halt was also because he wanted to kill Lin Ze and disrupt their morale, and then take the opportunity to launch a surprise attack and capture these more than 20 regular soldiers. As long as the commander died, they would probably all flee for their own lives, without considering what to continue to counterattack. From this, it can also be seen that the NPC in this gaming world is really not a dead end. At this moment, when both sides stopped fighting, Qin Sha sneered with a hint of mockery. "You young man who hasn't even grown hair, you're quite talented. So, who among the village leaders is willing to go and take his head? If no one agrees, let me take it. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Wait a minute, let me Lu Yuan deal with him. I want to see what kind of bullshit Captain Lu Ling has, how much weight he wants to kill us all." Among the several horseback riding village leaders, a rough man with a level of 3 and a combat power of 15 shouted and took the lead in this big job. Lin Ze furrowed his brows. Although he had killed 4 bandit heads in a row yesterday, including killing some mountain bandits just now and gaining some experience, he was still a bit short of level 3. Currently, his combat power is only 12, and he is afraid it will be difficult to defeat the opponent. "System, please help me, there must be a beginner protection period anyway." In despair, he had no choice but to ask for help from the system. In this current situation, even if he escapes, he will definitely not be able to escape the pursuit of so many people from the other side. Ding, trigger newbie protection. Host can activate emergency reputation recruitment function. This feature can attract a certain degree of reinforcements based on your current reputation. If the host's reputation is poor and the amount of reinforcements attracted is not enough, then wait until death. May I ask if the host has triggered this function? Trigger it. Lin Ze roared without hesitation in his heart. From the beginning to the present, he has been struggling on the road of fighting against thieves. Yesterday, he even pulled out 4 bandit strongholds. Who knows about the surroundings of Luling County? In terms of reputation, he is definitely not bad. And just after he launched the emergency recruitment for beginners, Lu Yuan had already urged Ma to come and kill him. At the critical moment, a loud shout suddenly came from a distance, attracting everyone's attention. "Where is Captain Lin Ze?" Upon hearing this sound, Hundreds of pairs of eyes in the audience brushed together and looked at the sound. In the blink of an eye, they saw a spirited young man riding a white horse, holding a spear and wearing a pair of light armor, looking like a young general. Chapter 7. Slaying the Village Leader. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this the reinforcements summoned by reputation recruitment? Lin Ze looked at the visitor with infinite hope in his heart, even though they were only one person alone. What are you doing with Captain Lin? It's just this kid. Lu Yuan was about to show off his divine power when suddenly his rhythm was disrupted by someone. He felt a little angry inside, so he pointed at Lin Ze provocatively and said to the young man with a white horse, "I was about to kill him. What did you want to do with him? Do you want to die together? My name is Niayu. Recently, I heard about Captain Lin's pursuit of thieves, which greatly touched my heart. Today, I came here to help him fight against the bandits." The tone of the young man in white was both firm and full of admiration. A young man like this, full of vitality, is inevitably moved by heroic deeds. Listening to him reporting his family background, Lin Ze suddenly remembered a person, who was the famous general of Wu in history, Niayu. In history, this person was born in Yuzhong County, Yangzhou. When he was young, he was just a small official in the county. Due to his eloquence and good communication skills, he often made friends with Zhuge Liang's nephew Zhuge Ke in the capital of Eastern Wu. Later, Zhuge Ke recommended him to serve for Sun Quan. Niayu was appointed as a general by Sun Quan and went to Dan'er County, now known as Hainan Island, to quell the rebellion. He achieved great success and became famous in the first battle. When he returned, he was appointed as the governor of Danyang by Sun Quan. Later, Zhuge Ke lost power and was executed by the three clans. He was also implicated and was about to be demoted to the remote Jiaozhou. Being the governor of Yulin, he developed a mental illness in anger and soon passed away at the age of only 33. At the end of the Eastern Han dynasty, Niayu was born a few years later in history. If this guy in front of us is really, the only thing worth explaining is the time and space in the parallel world of the game, which may have some deviation from the original Earth. At this moment, after listening to Niayu's words, Lu Yuan laughed wildly and said, "Ha ha ha, this Lin Ze is just a child who hasn't grown enough hair. Now there's another one who has died." The saying, "a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers," is indeed true. Seeing you come hard, I will send you to die first and then take Lin Ze's head. After speaking, he waved his long spear and turned his horse head to kill Niayu. The onlookers cheered in waves as they watched the mountain bandits. In their view, Niayu was still young, just showing off for a moment, and it would definitely be difficult to resist Lu Yuan's attack. But in Lin Ze's eyes, this is not the case, because Niayu's combat power data is as follows. Niayu, branch. Cavalry, level. Level 4, qualification. Excellent, power. 25, compared to Lu Yuan with only 15 points of combat power at level 3, Niayu's data is simply overwhelming. This 1.1 match doesn't seem very suspenseful. Kill. At this moment, facing Lu Yuan who was attacking, Niayu slapped his horse and began to confront him with a spear. Quickly, the two met head-on, each waving their spears and stabbing each other. Bang! Only one sound of weapons colliding was heard. Later, everyone saw Lu Yuan's long spear directly release and fly away. The blow just now was clearly due to this guy's lack of strength and inability to withstand the impact of Niayojan's spear, causing him to lose his weapon in just one go. Thief, take your life. Taking advantage of the favorable situation, Niayu shouted loudly and once again thrust a spear. In shock, Lu Yuan had no choice but to avoid it and was pierced through his heart. He fell off his horse and died tragically. Watching this result, the whole room fell silent. After a silence of just over 10 seconds, another village leader in the group of mountain bandits grabbed a gun and urged his horse to come and kill him. Don't be arrogant, kid. How could I meet you? Oh, please accompany me to the end. Niayu's tone was slightly rebellious, and he picked up his spear and clashed with He Yuan who had killed him. Bang, bang, bang. He Yuan, with only a level 3 combat power of 17, although slightly stronger than Lu Yuan, only fought 3 moves against Niayu and was knocked to the ground, resulting in his death. In just 1 minute, 2 village leaders died consecutively in the underworld, which greatly disrupted the morale of the mountain bandits. Especially for the mountain bandits under the command of those 2 village leaders, their mountain king has now died on the battlefield. Who will lead them to make a living in the future and where they should go now are all at a loss. In this industry, there is a fixed number of people on each mountain, and the food obtained from plundering the people is only a small amount. Naturally, one will not easily accept others to increase the burden on their own mountain. After all, bullying the people does not require too many hands. So these headless mountain bandits must have different intentions and no intention of fighting again. When they return to the village, they will probably compete for the position of the new village leader and the surplus food stored in the village. Most grassroots villains do not understand benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and trust, and are likely to disperse due to internal conflicts and food grabbing. Of course, these are all later stories, if they can still survive. At this moment, Niayu, who had slain 2 generals in a row, had a calm and effortless expression on his face. Who else among you can fight? I will accompany you to the end today. When he opened his mouth and drank, no one dared to challenge the mountain bandits present. Qin Sha saw that his side was completely intimidated, and immediately sneered a few times with a sinister tone. All the village leaders, why are you afraid of this furry guy? If you go up together, you're still afraid that he won't succeed. After hearing these words, the other 3 village leaders immediately showed a hint of sneer with a clear understanding. Then, as if they had agreed, without further ado, the 3 village leaders urged the horse to kill Niayu together. Qin Sha looked at this scene with an extremely cheerful smile, as if he had already seen the scene of Niayu being beaten and killed. Kill! At this moment, Gong Jing, the village leader who rushed to the front of the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com, had a combat power of up to 18. After shouting loudly, he fiercely shot Niayu. Bang! Faced with this first blow, Niayu waved his spear and easily deflected Gong Jing's spear. But the remaining 2 village leaders have also been slaughtered in front of him, and each of them has swung a shot. Although Niayu's combat power was slightly higher than theirs, facing such a tight attack, he still faced numerous dangers and had to desperately wave his spear and dodge to narrowly avoid these 2 attacks. But in this way, he was also caught up at close range by the 3 village leaders, and with his combat power, he was not enough to show a scene of overwhelming the crowd in this situation. Fortunately, at this moment, the sound of several arrows cutting through the air sounded, and then the 3 village leaders surrounding Niayu immediately let out a scream, because each of them was hit by 1 or 2 arrows on their bodies. The initiators, of course, were the 10 archers around Lin Ze. They had already been promoted to level 3 in the chaos just now. At this moment, it is not very difficult to shoot those 3 village leaders with 1 move. If the enemy bullies more and is unrighteous, Lin Ze can naturally order the firing of cold arrows. Before the whole audience could react, he immediately urged the horse to charge towards Niayu's battle circle with a sword, shouting while charging. The bandits present are obeying orders. If you don't surrender today, your lives will be entrusted here. As he spoke, he waved his long sword and arrived in front of a village leader who had been injured by an arrow and fell to the ground. Then, he stabbed his sword and directly inserted it into the opponent's eyebrows, taking their life and consuming a wave of experience. Ding, congratulations to the host for killing a thief head, level 3, and gaining experience points bonus. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully promoting to level 3 and increasing their combat power to 18. Chapter 8. Triumphal Return. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Lin Ze quickly killed one of the village leaders with his swift sword, Yu quickly reacted and urged his horse to catch up with the two injured and fleeing village leaders. He then swiftly stabbed 2 spears and successfully ended their lives. At this point, 5 of the 6 major village leaders in this group of bandits died consecutively, leaving only Qin Sha in this barren mountain. After realizing that the current situation was not good, this guy immediately raised his voice and shouted at the bandits present, "Go ahead, kill them. Kill these dog officers and soldiers." Although he roared with his veins bulging, nearly 180 mountain bandits on the field looked motionless and did not follow his orders. Because most of their leaders have died. Just like 6 companies cooperating, at the beginning there were instructions from the boss, and each employee obediently followed them. Now, when your own boss suddenly dies and other company bosses ask you to continue working at the risk of your life, how could you possibly listen if you don't work for him? Under normal circumstances, everyone should have their own ulterior motives, starting to focus on the remaining equity and wealth of the company, hoping to share a portion among themselves to avoid risking their lives to work and not getting anything. So when it comes to fighting spirit, these mountain bandits have long been gone. Most of them are secretly calculating who will be in charge of their mountain top next, whether to directly grab some of the goods and food in the warehouse and run away. At this moment, Qin Sha is probably only able to command his few subordinates, but in this situation, even his subordinates dare not act recklessly. The 6 Fortresses Alliance is unable to present an overwhelming advantage, let alone the dozens of them. Brothers present, I know that you have just taken this wrong path due to your livelihood. As long as you stop resisting, all your crimes will be attributed to your leaders. I will not blame you for everything else, and I can also allow you to turn your back on the dark and have the opportunity to become a regular army in the court. So everyone, don't act irrationally again. If anyone wants to escape or continue to resist, then my archery team is not a vegetarian. Lin Ze found that the bandits present had already separated their hearts and became camps, and he was very happy to persuade them to surrender. After his words, the mountain bandits on the field all looked at each other, as if they had agreed to Lin Ze's words. When it comes to running away, no one dared to act like this early bird. If they were really shot and killed while running, they would be unjustified. As for continuing to fight, it would be even more ridiculous. Even if the boss died, they would still lay eggs. Joining the regular army would not make them targets for punishment, and having a place to eat might be a good choice in this chaotic world. Next, it's time to liquidate you. After calming most of the bandits in the field, Lin Ze's gaze was like a sword, pointing straight at Qin Sha, and then urging his horse to quickly kill the opponent. Both of them are at level 3, but Lin Ze's combat power is 2 points higher than him, not to mention the bonus of charging on horseback. When it comes to a real fight, Qin Sha probably has enough strength. Of course, this guy is not a stubborn fool. Even when he turned around, he fled to the great wilderness mountain. Seeing this, a level 3 archer promptly provided an assist and fired an arrow with great precision, hitting Qin Sha's back shoulder. He let out a scream of pain and fell to the ground. Lin Ze quickly caught up and swung his sword with a decisive blow, killing him and enjoying a small amount of experience points. At this point, the last enemy stronghold leader was also killed in action, and the battle against bandits can be said to be over. Ding, detected that the host has completed the task of eliminating violence and ensuring peace, obtained cavalry plus 50, and food and forage plus 10,000. As soon as the system announced the reward, multiple dazzling streams of light appeared on the field, followed by 50 cavalry dressed in light armor, riding horses, and holding long spears. As soon as these imposing cavalry soldiers appeared, they immediately flipped over from their horses and respectfully knelt down on one knee and bowed to Lin Ze, saying, "See you, Lord." Their voices were both firm and sincere, which made Lin Ze extremely satisfied. He immediately waved his hand and smiled, saying, "I am fortunate to have a heavenly army to assist me. Everyone, please take note, and there is no need to worry about this matter. Looking at the scene in the audience, everyone present showed a surprised expression, especially the 180 bandits. After hearing Lin Ze's mention of the heavenly soldier, they really thought that these suddenly appearing cavalry were specially sent by heaven to help Lin Ze. Now they had no idea of resisting, and instead looked at Lin Ze with some eyes lit up. They always felt that this person was more powerful than the boss they had been with before. Even Niayu on the side was extremely surprised as he looked at Lin Ze, with a hint of awe. "Hey, this little brother, thanks to your help this time, otherwise I wouldn't have escaped death. Can you introduce yourself again?" At this moment, Lin Ze only had time to talk to Niayu. "Ah, my name is Niayu, my courtesy name is Wen Ti, and I was from Yuzhang County, now Jiangsu City, Jiangxi Province. Recently, I heard that Captain Lin was fighting against thieves, and I felt a sense of admiration in my heart. Today, for some reason, I suddenly felt a surge of excitement and wanted to ride a horse to help Captain Lin. And for some reason, I only felt that the strong horse under my feet had the power to withstand the wind. In an instant, I arrived at the great wilderness mountain and successfully helped. I think this is probably fate's will." After listening to his words, Lin Ze couldn't help but laugh in his heart. "Since it's fate, I believe Wenti and I are destined. Why don't we work together to achieve great things?" After hearing this, Niayu's eyes lit up and he said, "If that's the case, it would be even better. Let me give you my respect." After finishing speaking, he immediately flipped down from the saddle and knelt down, bowing, "Lord." "Okay. Lin Ze dismounted and lifted him up, saying 3 good words in a row. It seems that the talents recruited during the novice protection period also need to speak up and strive for admission on their own. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining a general, level 4, after successfully taking Niayu under his command. Lin Ze turned his gaze to the 180 bandits on the field and said, "Are you willing to surrender?" Official, please find the book Garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com. We are willing to surrender. After hearing this, these mountain bandits knelt down one by one eagerly, as if they had followed Lin Ze. After all, Niayu, who had enough combat power to humiliate their village leader, recognized him as the leader. Not to mention that Lin Ze had 50 more cavalry in his hands. If he didn't surrender, he would definitely meet the King of Hell. Moreover, this new leader looks more promising than their former boss, so following him is not a bad thing. After thoroughly resolving this issue, Lin Ze led his troops back to the mansion and also took the horses of the deceased village leaders. As for the property and food left by the 6 bandit villages, he planned to have Huzi bring people to collect them one by one tomorrow. On the way back, they encountered and accepted nearly 100 surrendered and escaped mountain bandits one after another. Considering that they may not have a sense of belonging at the beginning, it is inevitable that they became deserters. In the early stages of entrepreneurship, Lin Ze did not take their lives and decided to bring them back together. At night, on Mount Dawei, Lin Ze, who had triumphantly returned, held a banquet to celebrate and even sent a logistics personnel to invite Hijing to come and drink. Although he lost a lot of elite soldiers on this expedition, he also gained a lot. Now, his influence panel data is as follows. Chasing Deer World System, Host. Lin Ze, Territory. 0, Advisor. 0, General. 1, Niayu, Force. 372, Cavalry x50, Archer x10, Knife-wielding Infantry x6, Lance Infantry x8, Logistics x18, Mountain Thief x280, Grain and Forage. 11,000 portions, only record the balance of grain and grass that the system has not yet redeemed. Based on his current strength, it is not a big problem for him to establish a foothold around Luling County, but it will be difficult to say for a long time. Chapter 9. Bridging and Leading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The cool breeze at night has a slight scent of flowers and plants, blowing gently in the mountains. The originally quiet mountain path was filled with the sound of horse hooves pacing, and it was He Zheng who had been invited. "Captain Lin, how imposing. I did not misjudge anyone. In just 2 or 3 days, you have completely eradicated all the bandits in the Luling territory. It's truly a heroic act." After climbing the Dawei mountain, He Zheng smiled gently and complimented Lin Ze a few words. Tonight at the banquet, he brought a few attendants, and behind him stood a fat and exceptionally dressed man, who looked extraordinary. The county magistrate praised him. Lin Ze arched his hand and politely looked curiously at the person behind He Zheng. "I don't know who this is." "Oh, I was about to introduce you. This is the postal inspector who came down from Yuzhang County for inspection. His surname is Zhongli, his name is Tua, and his courtesy name is History. He Zheng introduced the plump man with a smile. Upon hearing the identity of the newcomer, Lin Ze was somewhat surprised, but soon realized. Originally, it was Zhongli, the postal inspector, who personally arrived. "Hey, I have coarse wine and meat from Dawei Mountain. I hope you two don't mind. Please sit down, please sit down." For the position of postal inspector, he also has some understanding, which is basically equivalent to the heads of departments such as the Discipline Inspection Commission and the Procuratorate in the Han Dynasty, and he can also speak a few words with them. In the most famous drama, Zhang Fei's attack on the postal inspector was against this kind of official. Although he is not the same person as the person in front of him, it is difficult to say if he is not a bird of a feather. "Come, Captain Lin, we have achieved a great victory in suppressing bandits. Let me toast you first with Zhongli, the postal inspector." At this moment, after the 3 of them took their seats, He Zheng filled 3 glasses of wine and toasted with Lin Ze and Zhongli Tuo. Warm wine poured into their stomachs, and all 3 of them felt a burst of pleasure. After 3 weeks of drinking and chatting, Zhongli Tuo suddenly became slightly intoxicated and said, "Captain Lin, what kind of reward do you want for this great victory?" Lin Ze was momentarily stunned after hearing this, and then Yu Guang saw the flickering eyes of He Zheng, instantly understanding something. Tonight, Zhongli Tuo was brought here to meet him. I'm afraid it's not as simple as it seems on the surface. He Zheng's intention in doing this is to help him build a bridge. After feeling a bit at ease in his heart, Lin Ze chuckled and said along the topic, "If possible, I would like to elevate this sesame official to the next level and serve the court wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, there is no way out now." Sigh. "Oh." Upon hearing this, Zhongli Tuo smiled and squinted his eyes. "Since you have such aspirations, why worry about having no way out? I am familiar with the prefect of Yuzhang County, Zhu Hao. Captain Lin has made such a good contribution, so when I help you with a few good words in front of the prefect, won't you have a chance to get promoted and promoted? If that's the case, Lin will have to rely more on Zhongli's postal supervision. Later, I will have my subordinates prepare and personally visit you in Luling County tomorrow to show gratitude. I hope Zhongli's postal supervision will not refuse." "Hey, it must be certain." As they were chatting happily, He Zheng dipped the 2 of them in wine again. He came specifically to bridge and mediate for Lin Ze this time. As for how far this young man, who comes from a poor background but has extraordinary speech, can go, it depends on fate. Anyway, he is just doing investment and giving a favor along the way. Although Lin Ze remained silent on the surface, he also understood He Zheng's help to himself, and now he has a lot of favorable feelings for him. It seems that the complexity of this game is beyond his imagination. The NPC who originally looked down on him will also become allies one day, and the human and worldly wisdom here is not inferior to the real world. It is like a game, but a true parallel time and space. I don't know if he can know the truth behind this game world after completing it. Can I safely return to the real world? With this in mind, Lin Ze's alcohol consumption has also increased. As the turbid wine enters, it not only brings him a spicy and realistic feeling, but also a slightly tingling electric current. At night, after the banquet ended, He Zheng and Zhongli Tuo returned happily and left with the support of a group of followers. Lin Ze touched his slightly heavy head, but was not in a hurry to rest. Instead, he summoned Huzi and asked him, along with logistics personnel and dozens of personal soldiers, to divide into several small teams and go to several bandit strongholds overnight to transport supplies. As he said to Zhong Litua, "Let my subordinates prepare and personally come to the door tomorrow to thank you. If you want to climb the relationship with Yuzhang County through the other party's line, you really need to prepare a generous gift." Ding, Start Challenge Task 3, Confer Titles and Titles, Difficulty. Challenge Level, Reward. To be determined based on the outcome of the challenge, Task Tip. There are many bandits in the territory of Luling. The 9th rank Sesame official, the captain of Luling, personally fights against them. He will return triumphantly within 2 or 3 days, with some merit. He is waiting for the imperial court to reward him. At this moment, the system has opened up a challenge task for Lin Ze based on his direction, mainly to see how much official he can be promoted with this battle merit, and the greater the promotion, the more abundant the rewards. Fortunately, on that day, he argued with Yizheng to make the other party appreciate him, so he recommended Zhong Litua to come over. Otherwise, Lin Ze's military achievements would have been dismissed by the county magistrate of Luling County, who would have given him 3 melons and 2 dates at most. But now it is different. Whether he can be appointed as an official depends on whether Zhong Litua can give awesome to this line. Anyway, Lin Ze didn't dare to think about real power, but at least give him a decent false position, otherwise he will secretly hoard troops and be like rebelling. Don't be led by a certain warlord to eliminate him before he has abundant wings, then you really want to cry without tears. The next morning, although Lin Ze drank a lot last night, miraculously he didn't oversleep and opened his eyes very early. At this moment, Huzi arrived at his camp with a weak sweat on his face. Yesterday, this guy led people to empty those bandit strongholds overnight, and all kinds of food, utensils, and money were piled up in the warehouse of Dawei Mountain. And each bandit stronghold has more or less several logistics personnel who have not participated in the war, all of whom were recruited by Huzi and all joined the logistics personnel of Dawei Mountain, resulting in the current number of logistics personnel increasing from 18 to 50. Lin Ze woke up early in the morning to listen to his report on the results, feeling very satisfied in his heart. After walking to the warehouse to inspect the materials they had collected, I couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "Wow, you can feed your brothers for a month or 2 just by relying on these grains." "Yeah, my lord, I've never seen our warehouse so abundant before. It's almost filled up and we've also collected a lot of money." Huzi spoke excitedly and then opened a large vat in the warehouse, which contained a large amount of copper coins and a small amount of rare treasures. It can be said that it was not a small amount of property. This expedition annihilated a total of 10 bandit strongholds, and this achievement also met Lin Ze's budget. "Here, take some money and take a few people to Luling County or nearby blacksmith shops to prefabricate a batch of long spears and light armor. This time, we have recruited a total of 280 mountain bandits, and I plan to turn them into a long-speared infantry regiment. By the way, you can purchase more arrows at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to meet military needs." Lin Ze took out a few bags from the warehouse and then filled Huzi with several large bags of copper coins, intending for him to purchase military equipment. "If the money is not enough, I will use my reputation to credit the account. After they deliver the final payment, we will use some more money to pay." "All right, my lord. With your current reputation in the Luling territory, let alone on credit, I think those blacksmiths may be willing to lower your price." Huzi smiled happily, then carried the bags filled with copper coins on his back, turned around, and went to do something. On Lin Ze's side, he also began to choose the companion gift to visit Zhong Litua for a while. And of course, the first thing to choose is the rare treasures found in the bandit stronghold. After some consideration, he picked out some precious wooden toys from inside, as well as an extremely beautiful golden hairpin and several agate necklaces. Of course, copper coins were also essential. He packed a dozen or so coins in his luggage and planned to use some of them to buy some good wine and high-quality silk, and then give them to Zhonglitua as a gesture of goodwill, so that his promotion could go smoothly. After everything was ready, he summoned Niayu and 20 cavalry attendants, carrying more than 10 bags of various sizes, and headed towards the foot of Dawei mountain together. No one would have thought that their large formation was actually for the purpose of giving gifts to a postal inspector, and the person who flattered them was Lin Ze, who has been widely praised by the people recently. It can only be said that everything in heaven and earth is flexible, and a brief compromise is only for the sake of greater development in the future. Only then can one have more strength to protect the right path. If one stops for the sake of the imagined morality in their heart without knowing how to take it, that is called foolish loyalty. Only by being able to bend and stretch can one become a husband. Chapter 10. Special Products with Points. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luling County is a small county town located below Yuzhang County. Lin Ze led a team of people into the city, covered in dust, and then went to two places. One is a wine shop, and the other is a silk shop. He purchased several jars of precious wine and a few luxurious silks in these two places, which he will use to meet Zhonglitua later. After preparing the companion hand ceremony, he headed towards a mansion in Luling County based on the confirmed address yesterday. Step on, step on, step on. A group of about 20 people, with the sound of horse hooves, arrived at Zhonglitua's temporary residence in Luling County in no time. After getting off the horse with about 20 people, Lin Ze kindly smiled at the attendants in front of the door. Excuse me, is this the residence of Zhongli, the postal governor? I'm in Xiaolins, and I'm here to visit. It turned out to be Captain Lin. My master had already said hello before. If Captain Lin comes, you can go in directly. Among the attendants, a seemingly leading young man directly opened the door of the mansion, gesturing for Lin Ze and his group to enter. Everyone, take your things and let's go in to visit Zhongli, the postal inspector. Lin Ze asked his subordinates to bring their souvenirs and then entered the mansion one by one. Quickly, Zhonglitua, who had learned the news, rushed out and happened to see Lin Ze and his group standing in the outer courtyard with big and small bags, with an undisguised smile on their lips. Captain Lin, you're here right away. Why be so polite? What's the purpose of these big and small packages? Although in the world of adults, we all know each other well, there must always be superficial rhetoric. Lin Ze pretended to smile and said, Zhongli, the postmaster, is now out of sight. As the saying goes, sending goose feathers from thousands of miles is light in gift and heavy in affection. Your Highness is a commissioned official of the court, and you have come down to inspect. I rarely visit you today, so I happen to bring some specialties to reward your Highness. It's not worth mentioning. Oh, you're making me feel embarrassed, huh? Zhonglitua smiled with a full face, then twisted his plump body in approach to explore the packages of 20 cavalry soldiers. When he felt the extremely full touch of copper coins coming from inside, he immediately showed a happy expression. Then, those few precious wines and a few luxurious silks and satin also made him praise them endlessly. Finally, after opening the plaything made of precious wood and adorned with a gold hairpin and agate necklace on Niayu's body, Zhonglitua nodded with great certainty. Okay. Since Captain Lin has intentions, I'll reluctantly accept it. Lin Ze chuckled inwardly and immediately cooperated by waving his hand to have his subordinates deliver the gifts to the side room. Anyway, this thing of property is also the war wealth he obtained from suppressing mountain bandits, and it's not a big deal to spend. Come, Captain Lin, come with me to the inner room for a chat. As the saying goes, a short mouth makes a soft hand. After receiving a lot of money and gifts, Zhonglitua became much more enthusiastic and pulled Lin Ze into the house. At the reception place, a mat was placed on the ground, and the two of them sat opposite each other in a kneeling position. Lin Ze's movements were smooth and flowing without any abnormalities. He was at least a high student in the history department and was very familiar with various etiquette of the Eastern Han Dynasty. Even a single kneeling position could not defeat him. In the 21st century, Japan, which frequently came to China to study in ancient times, still adopts a similar habit on Earth, but they are only used in certain occasions. Captain Lin, you're very young. I wonder how old you are this year. The young man is only 19 years old, not very big, so he can't be considered young. At 19 years old, I'm quite young. Zhong Litua poured 2 cups of tea on the low table between the two and continued, when it comes to promotion, qualifications and age are quite important. The main thing is to be able to persuade others. I will definitely help you, but there must be a rationality in how I help you. Governor Zhu Hao will not blindly listen to my words and promote you to a position that should not belong to your age group. That's not very realistic. Do you understand what I mean? Lin Ze frowned slightly upon hearing this, but he did not refute it. He knows what Zhong Litua means. In modern times, for example, if a college student gets to know a certain relationship and is promoted to the position of mayor, it's unlikely to sound like that. Zhong Litua's intention is to help him secure an official position based on his age and qualifications, which may not be as high as imagined. He needs to be mentally prepared first, otherwise, if he gets older, the prefect will not agree. Lin Ze took a small sip of the tea from the low table and felt a bit regretful. He had known that he wouldn't have received so many gifts here, at least half of them would have been cut off. It's like paying all the money and taking off half of the pants. If you tell me it's too small and you need to be mentally prepared, it may not achieve the expected pleasure. Isn't this nonsense? Although Lin Ze really wanted to use his mouth to guide Zhong Litua, he also used his mouth to guide Zhu Hao. For example, at the age of 17, Sun Tzu repeatedly went to the battlefield and made meritorious contributions. At the age of 19, he even broke away from Yuan Shu and borrowed his own troops to attack Jiangdong. At the age of 18, Zhou Yu went out to assist Sun Tzu in conquering the world. At the age of 16, prodigy Zhou Bai gave Cao Cao advice to seize the important land of Luqing. There are also many heroic figures who rose to fame and made remarkable achievements at this critical moment. Use these allusions to prove that ability is more important than qualifications, so that they can ignore their age and qualifications and try to climb higher. However, many cases only happen a few years later, and even if it were told to Zhong Litua by zhaoshuyuan.com now, he would not believe it. So it definitely won't work if you keep your mouth shut. Okay, take it slow, don't worry. Isn't there still a Yellow Turban uprising? He has some military strength now, and the court is likely to urge him to go to the battlefield soon. Then come and raise the price, or make more military achievements. By relying on system rewards or recruitment to expand his influence, his age and qualifications will really not be a problem. The fist is big enough, and the prefect must obediently listen to him. After chatting with Zhong Litua for a few more moments, Lin Ze left on the pretext. Even though relying on the other party's line cannot make one soar to fame in one go, at least one has established a relationship with Yuzhan County, which is better than developing in a small Luling county. Lord, does this postmaster promise you an official position? On the way back, Niayu asked with a curious expression on his face. Lin Ze chuckled lightly and said, yes, there is, but it's not the expected amount. I guess he's also a small sesame official. We are currently hoarding troops to expand our influence. Without corresponding official titles, it is easy for some unscrupulous people to take advantage of the intention of stabilizing public security and end up in one pot, so I am quite worried. So, how big an official is needed to achieve the Lord's expectations? According to our current development trend, at least a few ministries Saimas should be appointed. For a long time, there is no need to worry about this matter. To make long-term worry-free plans, at least one county governor should be appointed. At that time, it was not a problem to hoard as many soldiers as we wanted, but now it seems that other ministries' Saimas may not be able to be appointed. Listening to Lin Ze's melancholic tone, Niayu chuckled lightly and said, "It must be because the Lord is young and lacks prestige. I'm afraid you may not have enough qualifications, so I dare not recommend too much to the governor." Anyway, go back and wait for the news.